In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create your first web page using HTML code, otherwise known as hypertext markup language. Now, what you can see on your screen at the moment is an example of what we're going to be creating today. And I know what you're thinking, that's one ugly looking web page. But we do need to start somewhere, and all we're going to be doing in this tutorial is looking at the very basic features of what makes up a HTML web page. And in the next video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to style it and make it look a little bit better. Okay, but for now, we just want to keep it simple and get this structure all done up using HTML code. Alright, so to get started on making your first web page, the first thing you always need to consider is the file structure. So I'm going to go over to my accounts and make myself a new folder called number 1, my first web page. If you don't know how to make a new folder, the quickest way to do it is probably hit this yellow button up the top here that looks like a folder, and that will let you make a new folder, or you can just right click and go down to new and select folder. Okay, so once you've made that folder called my first web page, open it up. And I'm going to get you to make a second folder called images. Now inside of that images folder, we need to put in a picture that we would like to include in our web page. If you're in my class, I'll give you access to this puppy. And if you're watching on YouTube, you don't have to use this picture. You can get onto Google Images and choose any old picture that you would like. Okay, as long as it's saved in this images folder. Alright, so that's pretty much all we need to do in terms of folder structure. My first web page, images, and then one photo inside that images folder. Once they are all set up, you're ready to start coding. So you'll need to open up your HTML editor, which is just a program we use to do our coding with. The one I'm going to be using is called Brackets, and it's a free program to download from brackets.io. I'll put a link in the video description below. But you don't have to use this. Whatever program works for you, you can use it. I've used Notepad in the past. I've used one called Sublime in the past. But I really like Brackets at the moment, so I'm going to stick with that. Okay, so if you're following along with me in Brackets, the next thing you need to do is make yourself a new document. So we go up to the File menu, click on New, and we've now got an empty page ready for us to start coding. Before we actually start coding, I always like to save it first of all. So go down to File and Save As. And find that folder you just created before, the My First Web Page folder, and open that up. Inside of there, I want you to save that file, and I want you to call it index.html. Now, in web design, the home page, which is usually the main page of any website, will always be called index. Okay, so get in the habit of calling your home page index. And I also want you to put an extension on each of your web pages that says .html, which just tells the computer this is a HTML file. So index.html, it's being saved in your My First Web Page folder. Click on Save, and you're now ready to go. So the first thing we need to do is open up some pointy brackets, otherwise known as the less than and greater than symbols. And we're going to put an exclamation mark, and in capital letters I'm going to write doc type, and then back in lowercase letters I'm going to write HTML. That simply tells the web browser we've created a HTML document. Next thing we're going to do is actually start writing the HTML code itself. And if you've ever seen HTML code before, you'll know that it is made up of tags. And generally these tags have an opening tag and a closing tag. So the opening tag that we're going to start with is the HTML tag. Okay, so all you need to do is write the word HTML inside these, I'm going to call them pointy brackets. I know they're less than and greater than symbols, but we'll just call them pointy brackets for now. And that makes up one tag. This is the opening tag, and you'll see that brackets has automatically added in the closing tag for me. You know that this is a closing tag because it's got a / before the word HTML. So I've got opening tag and closing tag right here. And in between these two tags is where we write the code for our web page. So I'm just going to press enter a few times there to make a bit of a gap between those two tags. That gives us room to make our web page. Okay, now a HTML document is made up of two main sections, a head section and a body section. The head section comes first, and the head section just contains information about the web page that isn't actually displayed to the user. And as the term goes on, we're going to start adding quite a bit of detail into our head sections, but for today we're going to keep it quite simple. In the body section, which comes next, that's the stuff that's actually going to appear inside the web browser. So what we want to see on the screen when we run our web page. Okay, so we'll get to that in a moment. We're going to start with the head section first of all. Now, to keep my code all nice and neat, what I like to do is use indents. So after I've added my HTML tags in, on the next line I'm going to press Tab on my keyboard just to move my mouse cursor across, or indent it, and I'm going to add in some head tags. So I'm going to write head inside those pointy brackets, and you'll see that brackets, the program, automatically puts in the closing tag for us. I'll press enter in between the head tags, and there's only one thing we're going to put in our head section today, and that's the title of the web page. So I'm going to open up a set of title tags now, and in between the two title tags I'm just going to write my first web page. Now I'm going to save this. Get in the habit of pressing Ctrl S for saving. It's a quicker shortcut, saves you a couple of seconds rather than going up to File and Save. Ctrl S is the shortcut. Now, to preview what you've got so far in your web page, I want you to go to your My First Web Page folder that you just created and open up this index.html. It should open up in your web browser like Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, whatever you're using. Okay, and at the moment, this is what our web page looks like, an empty white document. And that's because we haven't added in the body section yet to our code. But if you look closely, look at the name of the tab at the top. It says My First Web Page. And that is appearing because you've written in the title. You could write something else here, like a bunch of random letters. And if I press Ctrl S to save that, go back over to my web browser and refresh it, you'll see the name at the top there of that tab changes to whatever I've got written in between these title tags. So I want you to leave it as My First Web Page. That's all we're going to add into the head section for now. As I said earlier, we are going to be adding a lot more detail into those head sections as the term goes on, but in this tutorial we're just keeping it super simple. So just the title for today. Alright, so coming in below the head section, I want you to add in the body tags now. Okay, as I said before, the body section is the section that will be displayed in the web browser. So this big white area at the moment is where our information is going to be displayed in the body section. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to put in a heading that says My First Web Page again. Okay, so if I was to write that and save it and go and test it, you'll see the word My First Web Page appear. Okay, you've just started creating the first part of your web page. Now that's a bit dull and boring. It doesn't look like a heading to me. It just looks like normal standard text. And the way we can jazz it up a bit and make it into a proper heading is we use the H1 tags around it. So you put the H1 tag at the start, write My First Web Page, and then close that H1 tag at the end. Okay, and what this is going to do is recognize that line as a heading. And now when I refresh my web page, you can see that it's gone bold and it has become bigger. Now you can use H1, H2, H3 and so on all the way down to H7. And each time you change the number, the text will get a little bit smaller. So if I refresh this now, a H2 heading just becomes a little bit smaller. And you can go all the way down to H7, which I'm guessing is going to be fairly tiny. There we go. It just looks like normal text again. So leave it as a H1 heading for now. That's the heading of your body section. Now the next thing I'm going to do is write in, here are 5 quick facts about me. Now this could be a subheading, I guess, so let's make this a H2 heading. Probably should have done that before I wrote it, but there we go. We'll make that a H2 heading. Now if I press Ctrl S to save it and go and test it, you'll see I've got my big heading to start with and my H2 heading after that. Alright, so our 2 headings are in. Now the next thing I'm going to do is create a bunch of bullet points, which are going to be the 5 quick facts about me. And the way we create bullet points in HTML is we put in a tag UL. UL stands for unordered list. So we're making a list of items and they're in no specific order. That's why we're using UL. We can actually make an ordered list, which we'll look at in future tutorials, but for now we're going to make an unordered list, which is just a list of bullet points. Now to put in the first bullet point, you need to put in the li tag. The li tag stands for list item. So this is the first item being added into our unordered list. And all you need to do now is write my name is, and then I want you to write your name. So my name is Mr. Bateup, so I'm just going to write that in. Alright, let's save it. Let's have a look, see what's happening. There we go. There's the first list item in my unordered list. We're going to do that a few times to answer a few questions. So I'm going to add in another list item here and write my favourite food is. And I want you to write down whatever your favourite food is. Mine is ice cream, so I'm just going to write ice cream. Next one is going to be your favourite sport. So let's add another list item. This will be the third bullet point. We'll say my favourite sport is, and I want you to choose a sport that you like to watch or play. Coming in for the fourth one is your favourite TV show. So my favourite TV show is, I'm just going to write Friday Night Footy. I'm just going to zoom back a bit here, there we go. And the final list item is what you like to do on the weekends. So on weekends, I like to hang out with my family is what I like to do. You can choose whatever you want there. Alright, so by now you should have an unordered list made up of 5 list items, which is 5 different bullet points. At the end you should have your unordered list being closed off. Okay, save that up, go and test it out, and you can see now we've got the 5 different bullet points in our list. Now one thing I want to do is highlight my answers with bold text. Okay, so where I've got my name is, I want my name in bold. Where it says my favourite food is, I want ice cream in bold. So the way we make text bold is we use the word strong. It's just a little tag. So I can see here where I've got my name is Mr. Bateup. I want Mr. Bateup highlighted in bold text. So before the word Mr, I'm going to write strong in the pointy brackets, and after Bateup, I'm going to put in the closing tag. So you can see the 2 tags highlighted there around my name. Opening tag, closing tag. And you can basically do a copy and paste job here around each of your answers. So the next one for me is my favourite food is ice cream. I want ice cream in bold, so I'm going to put strong there. And after ice cream, I'm going to put in the closing tag. I'm going to have to zoom back a bit here so you can see this. So if I highlight them, you can see now around the word ice cream, I've got an opening strong tag and a closing strong tag. Just continue to do that around your answers. I'm just going to copy those closing strong tags now and put them after each one. Alright, so hopefully you can see those strong tags now around my answers, and if I press Ctrl S to save that and go and refresh my web page, look at all these answers down here, they should go bold. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here so you can see it a bit clearer. So you can see now the answers have gone bold in each of these bullet points. Alright, so that's looking good. That's our list all done. Back over to our code now. We're going to come in underneath this unordered list and we're going to make a new paragraph. And the way we make a new paragraph in HTML is the letter P. Alright, so here I'm going to write in what my favourite web page is. Okay, so I'm going to write, here is a link to my favourite website. And my favourite website is Google. Okay, so let's just save that and have a look at it first of all. We've made a new paragraph, so it's going to leave a little bit of a gap and write the next sentence in. What I want to do is turn the word Google into a hyperlink, which means when I click on it, it's going to take me off to another location, so a different web page. So in this case, I want the word Google to take me off to the Google website. So this is how we make a link. Before the word Google, I want you to open up a pointy bracket and put in the A tag. Then put a space and write href. I'm not exactly sure what href stands for, but ahref, get used to it, is how you write a link. And we write ahref equals, and in quotation marks, you need to write down the website address. So http, actually I might cheat here. I'm going to go over and just go to Google. It's just google.com is what we want. I'm going to copy that and paste it in. And it pastes in the entire address, https://www.google.com, and that's it after that /. Okay, so I can close my quotation marks there, and then close my pointy bracket. Now, it's got a closing A tag there, which you need to remove and put it after the word Google. Okay, now I know this is confusing. I'll try and zoom back a bit here so we can get it all onto one line. Might make it look a bit nicer. So I've got a new paragraph saying, here is a link to my favorite website, and then we create the link. And because these A tags are wrapped up around the word Google, that word there, Google, becomes the hyperlink. Let me show you. I'll save it and refresh my page over here. And you can see the word Google now has an underline. If you hover over it, your mouse cursor changes. And if you look down the bottom left down here, just watch carefully, it'll even tell you where you're going to be taken to if you click on that link. So if I click on it, it takes me off to Google. Okay, so my hyperlink's working. So that's looking pretty good. I'll just zoom back one more there. So that's that paragraph sorted. One other paragraph I can create here with a different type of link is a link to send me an email. So if I put in a new paragraph and say you can email me at, and I want you to write your school email address. I'll just put mine in. And now we're going to make another hyperlink here. So I want this email address here so that when I click on it, I can send an email to myself. So I'm going to go and put in the A tag again and then add href after it. A href equals. And in quotation marks, what I'm going to do first of all is write the word mail to. That's the trick. That word mail to makes this an email link. And we're going to send an email to this address. So we just leave that address sitting there. And then we close off the quotation marks, close off the pointy bracket. And now we need to put in the words that we want to be the hyperlink. So in between there, I'm just going to write my email address again. Now I know that's confusing, but let's have a look carefully. We've started a new paragraph that says you can email me at, and then we've started an email link. Okay, that's where we're going to send the email to, tbait54 and so on. And this is the text that the user can click on to send that email. Save it and I'll show you what I mean. I'll zoom in a bit here. It says you can email me at, and there's the text, tbait54@eq.edu.au, and if I hover over it, look in the bottom left and you can see that it's a mail to link. If I click this, it should open up my email account here in Outlook, and it's sending an email to that address. Alright, so I'm not actually going to send an email, but that's how you create an email link. It's the same way as a normal hyperlink, we just add the word mail to into it. What do we got left? I think just the picture of the puppy is all we need to add now. So let's make one final new paragraph with the letter P, and we'll write a sentence that says, here is a picture of a puppy just because. And we will close that paragraph off. Now on the next line, we'll just make one more paragraph and put the picture of the puppy in. The way we put a picture into a website is we use the img tag. IMG is just short for image. And the first thing we need to do is point to where this image is saved. So we need to find the source of this image. So usually you'll write img first of all, then you'll put a space and write src, which is short for source. So image source equals. Now if you're using brackets, it comes up with some hints for you. And I can see my images folder there. So I'm going to click on that images folder, and it opens it up and it says you probably want the puppy picture, which I do. So I'm just going to click on that, and I can close off that set of brackets. And that's your code to put a picture in. Image source equals. You need to open up your images folder, which is this folder here. And then it's going to put in that puppy.jpg picture, which is that one just there. And if you hover over it in brackets, it should show you a little preview of what that picture looks like. Okay, now if I save that and test it, that picture's probably going to come out a bit big for my liking. Oh yeah, it's probably a bit too big, so we're going to resize that now. Okay, what you can do inside this image tag here, just come inside the end of that pointy bracket, and I want you to write width equals, and then in quotation marks write 200, which stands for 200 pixels, and height equals, we'll do the same, 200 by 200. Save that, and you should see the width and the height of the picture change to a much smaller usable image. Now, one last thing I like to add in with the images is some alternate text. So still inside those pointy brackets, I want you to write ALT equals, and then in quotation marks, I want you to put a description of what that picture is. So I'm going to say photo of a puppy playing with a ball. That's it. And the reason we put that alternate text in is if that picture doesn't load for some reason. So our internet connection might be rubbish, or we might have a person with a disability that can't see the image properly, so the computer's going to read out what that picture is. And that alternate text will simply appear on the screen if the picture doesn't load, or it will be read out by the computer, and it will just say what that picture is, a photo of a puppy playing with a ball. Okay, so it's always good practice to add in some alternate text to describe each picture you put into your website. And that's it. We're done. So if you look carefully, we've got the closing body tag here to say we're finished now with this body section. Let's close it off. And right at the end, our HTML tag there to close the entire web page off. We are finished. So they're pretty much always the last two tags you'll put in to your web page. So let's save that. Go and have one final look. There it is. You have now created your very first HTML web page. And as I said before, yes, it's ugly. But don't worry, in the next video tutorial, we're going to be using a bit of CSS, which is cascading style sheets, to style this web page and make it look a little bit more attractive. Okay, so I'll catch you in that second video tutorial shortly.